It is my favorite part of the week, which is Wednesday at 11 o'clock, meeting with y'all, talking about roadblocks removal for speakers and coaches. And the amazing thing about this virtual world that we live in now is it has changed so much how you do things. And for example, everybody now knows how long it takes you to brew a pot of coffee before a meeting, how long it takes you to walk across the house before a meeting. And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you're a little bit off. And we have a great show planned for you today. Great guest coming on, and he's enjoying the backstage life so much that can't bring him out just yet. So we're going to talk podcasting today. Has anybody ever wanted to have a podcast? Oh, like everybody. Many of you probably have a podcast or had a podcast, and you have questions and what to do. And come on in here, because we've got a fabulous guest. He's a three-time author, TEDx speaker, and MC there. And I'm not even going to waste time. I'm just going to bring him on right now. He's coming in. The ship has docked. He's coming out of the Thousand Islands. So please welcome Carl Richards.
Ray,
specialist. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I can feel the bald energy in the room, and that's just fantastic.
You put the two heads of ours together, and we make a, dare I say it,
an ass
of ourselves. There we go.
Yeah, it would look like one if we did. There. That's the fabulous thing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we're talking podcast here today. If you're out there, if you have questions, it's the perfect time to ask your podcasting questions, because no one's better at it than Carl Richards. And let's start it off this way. So if you want to get in, go join Ray Live. Join Ray Live. That is the way to get in here and join us. You can go in the back stage room, see in the green room. There's all kinds of food laid out there for you. Little grapes, charcuterie board. It's all ready to go. Hot tub, Dove bars, everything. You saw all that back there.
No, I didn't. I must have just ran right by it. Getting on the stage. We had
to whisk it right there. And Rick Olson, good friend of the show, says coming in hot right there. Good to see. Yeah, you're going co-host or no co-host. You're doing it. Yeah, I jumped right on there and did it. And I was talking about how one of the things that we've learned over the last 5 years is exactly how long it takes to brew a pot of coffee, how long it takes to finish your sandwich and eat it before you go on these things. And we hop on these things, but if for some reason you're off 30 seconds there, well, you just keep going. You just keep going.
Yeah, 100%. And I have done not so much live, but even recorded stuff where sometimes the guest will be clearing their throat or whatever, so they'll be off mic, or even they'll turn their camera off while they're doing that. And I just got to keep talking, got to keep going, keep it going, because you never know when they're coming back.
My favorite is when the tail comes across the screen.
Yes. My tail. Well, not my tail. My tail is a 140-pound Great Dane. So I made sure he's got treats. He's got a chew toy. He's good for the next 30 minutes. So he's good.
If he gets hungry, you're out.
I see you later.
Yeah, it's so fabulous. And people get so worried about their look on these things. And most people don't care. Did I just freeze for a second? That's all.
I was just going to say, how's my hair? Is it okay?
Yes.
The makeup smudge is okay. Is it good?
It's looking good. And they will hide themselves and go blank screen on it. And we're fighting for their entertainment dollar with their cats, their homes, their noises, the sounds they hear. I wonder what the cat's doing now, and you have to be flexible. You have to move, you have to roll with the times and get your message heard and out there. So I'm happy so happy to have you here. Let's talk podcasting, shall we?
Sure. Why not? I eat, sleep, live, breathe it, other things to it. So yes, let's talk about that. That's
so a lot of people we work with on this show are they're coaches and speakers, and coaches and speakers are ideal to have podcasts and have people on and create business through that. But if you were going to if you could speak to a room full of people that would most benefit from having a podcast, who would be in that room?
– everyone that's on this live stream right now or catching the replay. 100%. And I have done not so much live, but even recorded stuff where sometimes the guest will be clearing their throat or whatever, so they'll be off mic, or even they'll turn their camera off while they're doing that. And I just got to keep talking, got to keep going, keep it going. Mic drop. There we go. Done. That's all I need. No, seriously though. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Ray, when you said definitely coaches, consultants. I say subject matter experts who are at this point in their business where they know it's time to level up. Maybe their coaches said, you know what? You should consider writing a book. You should do some more speaking at conferences and events and such to get your name and get more of your IP, your intellectual property, the things you're known for, to get them out there. But then also you think about the people who are starting podcasts. Coaches are saying start a podcast now. So if you're in that place where you want to level up, and I would say you're probably at a certain income level where you're not fighting to survive, shall we say, you're not looking for your next meal ticket, you've got a good steady flow of income, you have a marketing budget, all of those things are coming together for you, but you just need to notch it up to the next level. Those are the folks that I would say, yes, this is time to start a podcast. We work a lot with people in the real estate space because it's such a noisy, cluttered space. So what we do is we try and cut through that clutter and make the cream, as it were, rise to the top. But if you're in that subject matter space and you know that there's something missing, you feel like you should be getting more speaking gigs, more clients, more, having more virtual coffees that lead to sales, then that, I think, is the time to, just like a coach would say, it's time to write a book, or even better, start a podcast that could actually give you the content to write a book, and do both. There you go. So start a podcast and write a book. I'll help you with one of those.
And one of the things that I like to work people with as well, and this it fits in that same genre, is, are you very, very good at what you do, but you kind of feel like a best kept secret in your industry?
Yeah,
and
100%.
There are so many different ways that you can get out there and talk to people, and a podcast is a great one. It introduces you to fabulous people and get some connections, because there are so many ways to market yourself that you don't think of, that the more conversations you have, be it virtual or be it live, the more conversations you have with people and the more you get your word out there, the more they will help you get your word out there. And my friend David Newman calls it before, with, and after networking. It's like 100%. Who comes in before you, who comes in the same time as you, who comes in after. And there's so much work to go around that if you talk to others that do the things that you do, they can turn you on to some of these things and bring you on as part of the team.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there's no better time to be looking at this as well. I mean, we saw podcasting during the pandemic explode, and we're still seeing a lot of growth. I think we're seeing some shifting in the types of content creation and content, how people are consuming content as well. So we're seeing more video podcasts now, or live stream podcasts, like what this is. We're seeing more of that kind of content than just the old fashioned. I say old fashioned. It's not that old fashioned. 20 years ago, if you were talking about a podcast, it was audio only, and people listened through their iPod, right? That's hence podcast, right? That was kind of
that's where it came from.
That's exactly where it came from. Don't ask me the founding fathers. I can't remember their exact names, but I mean, if you go back to 2002, 2003, that's exactly what it was. And it was an audio only format. What's funny was it was an audio only format down what's called, I'm going to get a little bit technical here for a second, audio only format down an RSS feed, which the RSS feed at that time was meant for text only. All right. So somebody that's way higher pay grade than me, figured out that, hey, you can take this RSS feed thing and put audio down it. And the podcast was born. And since then, of course, we've seen, as I said, an upswing in video. If we were having this conversation 6 years ago, Ray, the birthing into video, if you wanted to do video or even live streaming on a regular basis, it was not impossible, but it was tough. I mean, and there was a barrier of entry with the equipment you needed. I mean, a good camera, I'm not talking a webcam, but a really good camera back then was expensive, and lighting was expensive. Now there are so many ways to get in now on even a shoestring budget that still will allow you to create some amazing content. Not to mention AI has made things easier on the back end for those who are doing it themselves, that that barrier of entry is almost non-existent now. It's the thing though is people need to recognize that, hey, I can do this. I don't need to break the bank. I might need some help, but I don't need to break the bank to get in.
And if you can't tell that Carl Richards is an expert in his fields just from that last 5 minutes, you weren't listening. And we've got—
What was that?
Carl Richards, and we've got, speaking of fantastic, we have our first guest coming on today, Rick Olson, who said he was coming in hot, co-host or no co-host, another person that needs to be seen as well. Rick, welcome. Join Carl. Carl, look at the bald head joy that's on the screen right now.
Oh my goodness.
I've never felt more at home.
It's the hairless trifecta. I don't know. We'll go with that.
That's right.
Which one of us gets
secret society?
Yeah. Which one of us gets to play Curly in the Three Stooges?
I feel I'm the odd man out because I'm missing this part here.
What's wrong with you, man?
I'm sorry. I missed the memo on that.
Everyone's doing it.
So Rick Olson is another fellow person that has his background in humor, and he works with. Tell us what you do, Rick, and then ask a significant question.
Speakers hired me to make sure that their audiences are laughing with them and not at them. And
I love it.
Sometimes that involves adding humor. Most of the time, it involves making sure their content, their speech is structured correctly, their stories are well structured, and then we put on that dash of Himalayan salt, which I call humor. But my question on the podcasting is, I've considered it, and I'm struggling right now with host or no co-host, because I've listened to some where they always have the same two people, host and a co-host, and that dynamic seems to make up for what can be a struggle sometimes in an interview podcast, where the guest may not be as dynamic, or maybe there's a connection struggle there. So you always have that co-host to bounce off of, Ed McMahon, Johnny Carson, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so, is there a market for me to bill myself as the co-host you didn't know you needed? And then, if I'm doing my own podcast, what are you seeing as far as co-host, host in an interview style podcast?
Yeah, I think so. So here's the caveat here. I think it all depends on the style of show that you're doing. So if you're doing a show that's getting your intellectual property out there, all the things that you've done in your business career, you've created all these things, these assets, and you want to get them out there, then I would say you probably want to do some solo episodes to be able to promote you and all of the things that you do. However, having said that, if it's more entertainment style, even if you have a co-host or a guest consistently, I think there's still something to be said about occasionally doing your solo shows, doing them by yourself. However, there are some people who just cannot do, come love nor money, they cannot do solo shows. They haven't had the experience, or they haven't, like, I spent 25 years in radio broadcasting, sitting in a room talking into a stick by myself with padded walls. I'll leave that with you for a minute.
Imaginary people out there. So I know
exactly. So it's a tough thing to do if you've never done it before. So I would say if there's a comfort zone with having that person to bounce things off of, I mean, I'm going to date myself here and say, but where would Abbott be without Costello, right? So if it's a type of thing where you need that other person to bring the conversation forward, or bring the humor, or bring the story, or whatever it is forward, then definitely have that other person there, as long as it's not deflecting from the overarching message that is what the audience need to hear. Because sometimes if you're in a co-hosting situation, the co-hosts have so much fun together, but they forget, oh wait, the real people who are tuning in are the audience. They're the ones we're speaking to, not each other.
Yeah, great point. And then making sure the guest isn't feeling like a third wheel.
Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Does that help? Does that give you a little bit of direction?
Yeah.
And I think the answer to the where is Abbott without Costello, the answer would be on first. I think would be the answer.
Very good. I like it.
The other, here to help. The other thing to realize about if you have a co-host with, and you can even do this on your own sometimes, when you host podcasts or when you do these live streams, people look at you as a talking head that's a speaker, and they don't realize that you could actually get together and work with people and help people. So you have to, your audiences are overwhelmed. befuddled and disgruntled, and you have to make them whelmed, fuddled, and gruntled. And so you have to inform them periodically that what you do can help them. I can work with coaches and speakers that love to coach and speak, but hate the selling part of it, to make it act as if they've never had to sell again. So you have to remind people of that. Remind people that Carl is the CEO of Podcast Solutions Made Simple. And if you have questions or have ideas that you want to do and run by, he's more than happy to probably talk to you about those things.
That's a very good point you make, Ray. If I could just jump in there, one of the things that we're toying with too at Podcast Solutions Made Simple is we're toying with this idea of a podcast co-op, and it does two things. It does what you're talking about. It's bringing in the experts together under one roof or under one podcast to share resources, share ideas, and share the stage, as it were, share the virtual stage. But it also shares in the investment in the show. So because again, even though there's a limited barrier to entry now into podcasting, it's still, if you're working with a company like ours, I mean, we're not a high-level Hollywood movie production studio, but we're also not overly cheap and cheerful. You know, we're somewhere in the middle. So if you're looking at that as, oh my goodness, yeah, I need to make sure that I've got the investment pieces together, maybe working with a partner or two or three other people who speak a similar language or complement what I'm doing, just makes it easier to get the entire messaging out there. And I think it wows the audience even more.
Well, and it takes it up a definite notch, because I remember back in the day when I did local public broadcasting TV, and this woman had this show, and it was like, you know, she was treating it as if I was going on the Tonight Show, and she brings me on and look at the camera people, and one was 8 years old and one was 10.
Yep.
Yeah, all right, thank you. I won't keep crashing your show. Thanks, Ray.
Oh man, no, it's great to have you here. Thank you. Anytime, come on in here. And if anybody out there has questions, you can put them in the chat if you see this thing later, and I'll make sure that Carl gets the questions and answer to it. But it is podcastsolutionsmadesimple.com, and you're kind of really a one-stop shop to get things going for people, where if they've ever thought about it but worried about, oh my God, it takes too much time, oh my God, it's going to sap my skill and my reason to live. you can help them out with that.
Yeah, no, it really does, because one of the things that we figured out is there's 5 basic reasons why people don't start podcasting, and it's time, money, they're not sure about content, where they're going to get their content from, competition, there's a thought maybe there's too many out there already, so how will I fit into that, and then the technical side of things. It's, podcasting for some, especially when you start adding more elements like video and lighting and backgrounds and all those kinds of things, it can be very daunting. So rather than going, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this, the question should be, who can help me put all of this together? So we spend a lot of our time in an education place dispelling those 5 myths and saying, yes, you can, yes, you probably should, and this is a really good time to do it.
And one of the great points that you're making there, when I speak live, if I'm talking about coaching or working with people on anything, I said, so all of you out here, you all know somebody that you really look up to and admire, and they'll go, yeah. Okay, so of those people, who had somebody that did all that work by themselves? I said, okay, I'll wait, because the answer is no one. No one ever gets successful by themselves. I know I failed twice along the way trying to do it myself, and the most refreshing moment ever of all time was sitting in a wealth management seminar and hearing the guy say, the average millionaire goes bankrupt 2.5 times before he gets to keep the money, and sitting there thinking, wow, half a time to go. It was literally one of the most freeing moments in my life. I go, I'm on the right track. Actually, I looked up later, the number's 3.5.
Oh, geez. So you got some catching up to do.
Yeah, no, I'm way ahead of the curve.
But it's a true point what you say about doing it yourself and what happens when you try to do that. I've seen people do that with their podcast. Can you do your own podcast? Of course you can. Forever, I used to do my own editing, but I also, again, have a media background. So that wasn't the learning curve for me. What the learning curve for me was graphics, writing my own show notes. Yes, I know how to write, but writing your own stuff sometimes can be daunting. That's why we have editors and things like that correct that. But then on top of that, running an agency doesn't happen with one person. Name me an agency that's an agency of one. Agency, I think, is a term that means, hey, there's probably more than one person working here, whether they be on payroll or whether they be subcontractors. So my first subcontractor, believe it or not, was an editor. I didn't think I would be giving up the editing piece that quickly, but I did. My second hire was a VA who has since become my assistant, and we built the team from there. So, and fingers crossed I haven't gone bankrupt yet, but there have been those moments where I'm like, is this the day that we go back to the drawing board? And maybe the fact that I brought in a team early enough has maybe not spared me from, financial ruin or mistake, but it's certainly given me the opportunity to delegate, which a lot of us don't like doing when we're in business, but we really have to do that.
Yeah, the tech side of it, getting a VA is like a $100,000 benefit to your business, I think.
Big time.
And it's something that taking all these little things out. I know that 3 years ago there was a thing called Kiwi Live, which you could store stuff on, and every time you spoke, I didn't use it the way they wanted you to. I used like the $20 a month thing, because every time I spoke, I gave away stuff I wanted to do, and it captured names. It was the most glorious thing ever, and there's really nothing like it out there. And so, but it allowed me to do the stuff that I couldn't do on a regular basis. Like a lead magnet page take me like 12 years to produce, and a 4-year-old could do it in 6 seconds.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the reasons why, kind of along the same lines as you, I used to write my own when I was doing speaker training. And even as I got into the podcasting space, I would create my own slide decks until I realized that, again, they look like a primary school kid put these together, and not even the brightest one in the room, probably the one that, didn't quite get the marks that they should have. So that's why I put that on my VA. I put all of that stuff on my VA, because if anyone knows how to make it look and sound good, it's her. And I would not trade her for all the tea in China. She's an amazing individual. I'll pass her name along if anybody wants to see if she has some time available in her busy schedule. But she is phenomenal. And it's that one thing you need at least one person, whoever it is. I mean, we're far enough along on the journey that we're looking at, because again, when you're in that solopreneur space, you think you can do it all, including your own books and your finances and paying your taxes, and you can to a point, and then things start to get a little more complicated. So we're at that almost a little more complicated spot where we can then bring in financial people to help us making sure that we're filing correctly and all that stuff, because all of those things are very important. And again, you got to release some things at some point so you can level up. It's all about leveling up.
Yeah. Solopreneur is not spelled AGENCY, right?
Yeah, no.
And here's the one word I'm sure every solopreneur has said in their lifetime. Right? So it's simple, but it's not easy, yet we don't see it ourselves. You can't read the ingredients from inside the jar is a way I've heard it put several times. And it's foolish to try, because you don't get where you want to go. And since the rate of failure for entrepreneurs is upwards of 90-something%, and most don't go back in.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to have either the stupidity or the bravery to go, well, I screwed up. Let's see what I learned and try and do it again. And you need some pretty thick skin, because you will have great days and you're like, yeah, I'm doing it. I got this. And then you'll have days where you're like, yeah. And that outreach part where people are trying to create new clients, what they put this tremendous pressure on themselves, because nobody wants to be salesy. I don't want to bother people. And you can't look at it that way. You have to look at it. If you can go in to take somebody that's always dreamed about having a podcast that would push them over the top in one way, shape, or form, and you had all the tools to make that happen for them, and you didn't tell them that you were available, you're being selfish.
Exactly.
Look at it. Yeah. And what you do and what I do for people, I know that if I take what's in my head and I put it in someone else's, they will sell more, speak better, life will be easier. And It's a selfish thing for me to do. It's transformational. It's a selfish thing for me not to tell people to come and work with me.
I think to your point about sales too, I'll admit, I learned fairly early that firstly, I hate the word sales.
Yeah.
I hate the word sales. And I learned from a mentor he said, and this is when I was getting into radio. He says, you have to sell yourself. Everything is about sales. Everything is sales. Even if you're going on the radio, everything's sales, sales, sales. I'm like, sales can suck it, I think is what I probably said at some point. But what really, what I realized is that it's not about sales so much as now in business anyways, it's not about sales. It's about service.
Mm-hmm.
It is about service. So when I get on a call with someone and they're interested in my services, it's about service. It's not about me selling them something. I don't have to sell them. They already want what I have. It's whether or not they're ready for what I have for them.
And it's about removing roadblocks in the way between the two of you working together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you look at it that way, because what you're doing is transformational, you are a service, you are very helpful to everybody that you work with. And how can we make that happen? Are they ready? One of the things that we all miss is that the people that want to hire you the most are probably people that already know you and work with you in one way, shape, or form. And so one of the challenges that I put out to my new clients is, are you prepared to talk to somebody that you haven't talked to in the last 6 months every day? And if you go back at it, I did this with a group of people, and it was like, I think when you present live, if you give them I call it a moment of fire or a big actionable moment right up front, then you've got them for the rest of the presentation. And I had everybody write down 3 people that had asked. These were people that spoke. Some got paid, some did not. They wanted to do more. I said, write down 3 people that asked you to speak, that you liked, that you enjoyed speaking to, and that you enjoyed the event that you spoke at. Doesn't care what you got paid or anything like that. And I said, now open up your computer and send this email. Do not change a thing. Do not put your logos on it. This is a friend talking to a friend. It said, Carl, it's been too long. Let's catch up, Ray. And hit send. And within a minute, half of them are going, oh my God, I got to reply. Oh my God, I got to reply. And that's where most of your work comes from, is your warm people that you know. It may not be them working with you. It may be them referring you, but that's such a free and easy thing. It's not easy. It's simple.
It's 100% true. I have had that experience recently where when I started the agency, we started doing a lot of training. We did a lot of training. Here's how you do your own podcast. Well, that worked for a while till I realized that a lot of people don't like doing that back end stuff, the editing, all that crazy technical stuff. So we started taking that on. Well, there were a lot of people who we trained early on or came to some of our earlier freebie workshops that we haven't followed up with in 2.5 years. Well, guess what? Some of them are starting to come back to me, and I'm starting to realize, well, shoot, there's probably 50 or 70 or at least who were hot then and really are probably ready, if they haven't already done something now, that it's worthy of a follow-up to say, just like you said, we haven't spoken in a hot minute. Let's catch up. What's new? And that has led to 2 pieces of businesses this month alone.
Yeah. They're out there and it can happen.
Yeah.
So free and easy. Rick Olson, who's still watching, has a suggestion for a new book for you. He says that the great book title is Sales.
Oh, okay. You know what? I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's not a bad, or at least it's a great subtitle. But I like the title with that.
Like a sales consultant. Well, no, I'll give him that. That is a good book title. It could be even a good title for a podcast if the right host or hosts are hosting it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Hey, if people want to have questions about anything that we've talked about today and they want to get a hold of you, what is the best way to do that? I'll put up one way.
Yeah, sure. The best way is exactly that. podcastsolutionsmadesimple.com. You can book 20 minutes to have a conversation with me to see if this is something you want to do. Virtual coffees are good too. Again, if we haven't spoken in a while or never spoken, I mean, Ray and I got connected because we'd never spoken. So hey, it can happen that those conversations are good. I'm also on LinkedIn. You'll find me on Facebook as well. So just look up Carl Richards, and you'll usually find it under Podcast Solutions Made Simple as well.
He's easy to find, easy to talk to, and great to work with. Is that a good combination or what? That's a quote. So. You can put that in there. That would be a kind of good like testimonial right there.
Right.
Well, thanks everybody for coming out today, and we'll be here next week and doing one of these things. And Rick suggests the subtitle, One Mind's Journey to Find the Truth. Sales can suck it. One Mind's Journey to Find the Truth. There you go. Maybe Rick Olson will be my guest next week. I forget who I think I have one person on, but Rick, I do have a spot for you coming up in November, December. Let's talk. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming out every Wednesday, 11 o'clock Pacific, and whatever other time that is where you are. It's probably 11:42 somewhere in Haiti, but I don't know. I don't know what the time zones are. Just show up. Again, if you're watching it on YouTube, or if you're watching it on Facebook and you have questions, you didn't get them on today, make sure you put them in the chat, and I will make sure that Carl gets your questions. All right. And if you want to talk to me, come on in. Happy to have a conversation about what you can do to not have your sales suck. We'll keep the theme going on right there. And I will see you all next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye.